Okay, you guys, thanks for submitting your tunes. And we're going to just talk about the second 8 measures real quick. I don't want to make this too long, but I just want to go through the first 16 bars of this AABA tune we've been working on as a group. And I'm going to go through examples. At the end, I'll just play through them all and you can watch them go by. But I want to make a few comments on some of these choices that you guys made. Almost everybody did similar to the first 8 bars as the second 8 bars in the ninth measure of the first measure. This is where everybody started to do things differently, and it's amazing how many different ways you can put together a melody with changes given the rhythm. I was really surprised that so many people had different things, but there was a few things that I think were really good, and I decided to, as you can see in the next assignment, I decided to hone in on those. But this is the reason why. So you'll see this one actually moves up to the augmented fifth and ends on the augmented fifth there. Coming back up, here's that repeated note thing. I don't think repeating on a ninth is the best choice of a B flat 13 sharp 11. And he ends up on the 11th there. So he does move up to the 11th. I think the changes get a little bit lost there with these note choices. And then he ends on the ninth of G minor 7, which is okay, but I think there is one note that works best, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, the next one here did the same thing, as you can see, although he did a slight variation going up to G and back down to F. He didn't end on the ninth as he did up here. You'll have to use your ear to decide what you like better. A lot of these things are subjective, so don't feel like there's only one way to do this. But I think there are some simple concepts that make some choices better than others. This particular chord change, walking up the scale to get to the 5 of A minor, kind of threw everybody. As we saw in the first 8 measures, a lot of people were just trying to fit in notes that kind of fit all those chords, which is okay. This one is actually not too bad. He just went back down and up to the 7th of the E augmented 7 sharp 9 chord, and then he resolved down to the 3rd. So that actually works pretty good. This one, he jumps up to the sharp 11 there. Probably could have just possibly repeated that note down C and then walked up D as the 3rd to the sharp 11 and then up. A lot of different ways to do this one. Just kind of depends on how you want to sound on that one. Here's an ending that I eventually chose, and I think I'm going to change it to an A to B flat. But I wanted B flat as the final note because it's not in the key. If you end on a G or a D or any of that sort, it's actually a chord tone of C major 9. So it doesn't give you that sense that you are actually changing keys. What we ended up deciding on this was B flat and then a D flat over here, although, you know, this augmented would work fine depending on where you're going. But I hope that makes sense. A B flat, I think, is the best choice at the end there. If you look at some standards, they do that quite similar thing. Okay, here's the second 8. Similar exactly to the beginning. Most of you did that. Here's generally where everybody changed because I think the changes warranted that. This one walks up, and then here's an interesting. You have to think about singing this one. It's an interesting intervallic choice there. I would try to stay with stepwise motion, and he ended up on the root, which is maybe not the best choice there for E. So as you can see, walking up A, here's an interesting thing. He ended on a G there, which is the 5th of C and the root of G minor 7. So that's not the best choice. And he did come up from the 13th, so that's a little bit of a weird jump there. Okay, moving on. Same type of thing, as you can see. This one's kind of similar, but it did move its way back up. And here's some interesting, he basically outlined the chord there and then jumped up to the 9th. Actually, this is kind of a wrong note for the changes here because it should be sharp 9, but he would have to go all the way up to a G. Could have walked right down to a G there. But listen as I play this at the end. This one ended on the 11th of G minor 7, which is the root of C, and we're coming away from C, so that may not be the best choice. Remember that B flat here, probably the best choice because it all of a sudden basically says we're moving to a new key. We've got an accidental there. Okay, similar things. This particular person wrote some terrific lyrics, which we did end up keeping and we will keep. Let's look at his last, oops, sorry. Look at his second measures here. Not too bad. Just did a little thing there. Ended on the 7th. This isn't too bad. I think he could have gone up here like he did in the first 8 because it kind of anticlimactic here. Ba-ba-da-da-da-da-dum. And he ends on the root once again of G minor 7, and that is the 5th of a C major 7. So it doesn't telegraph any kind of key change going to the bridge. So that was good up until there. Okay, similar thing here. We jumped up here, kind of the same type of thing. Not too bad. We ended on the root on this particular one. You'll see in the final version I ended on the sharp 9 stepwise motion there. Okay, here's very similar to the beginning, which is good. And then he ended on the 5th of G minor 7, which is the 9th of C minor. Once again, or C major. I mean, once again, we're not telegraphing or showing that we're going to be changing keys. Just kind of ended on the 9th there randomly. Okay, this one, let's see, go on to the next. Okay, here it is. Second 8 bars, very similar. I'm not sure where a B is in this chord, E flat diminished 7. Could have gone to, probably should have gone to a C there, not a B. A B can fit in that chord, but it's not a chord tone, but you could overlap it, I suppose. But that's the 7th of that one. And then we move up to the C as the beginning. Once again, we end on the root. And then he ended on the sharp 9 here, not the flat 9. I think that's a little strange on that one. Okay, this one started on, whenever you have an AABA tune, the 9th measure should be very similar, as most of you did, to the beginning. And this one is very, I think what they were trying to do is do kind of like an inversion here. Start on the 9th, come down to the F, rather than go up. Here's kind of fitting the notes in the melody with what the chord is. Remember we talked about that. This might have been better off if he just walked down to a G there and had it the 11th and then back up. I'm not sure, but you can listen as you at the end. Ended on the root, not the Ooh, here's an interesting one. I didn't see this. On A minor 7, F does not fit an A minor 7 chord. And this is getting awful high. If you got a singer, a female singer, it's going to be awful high. So what he did was work his way up, or she worked his way up, and then I guess wanted to stay up there. But here's a wrong note. You can't end on the 6th of a G minor 7 chord. This would be G minor 6, and G minor 6 chords wants to be minor 1 chords. If you're in the key of G minor, you can add a 6 and it sounds like the 1 chord. It's just kind of an extra flavor. So that is actually just a wrong note there. Okay, going on. Here's another one that basically changed what we wanted to do up there. And some weird, you'll hear this, but there's some weird intervallic things here. Just some interesting intervals that if you sang these, remember, don't just play these on the piano, but sing them as well. Similar to this one, here's kind of a boring line there. It only goes a half step. And then we move down to the G minor 7 on a D. Once again, doesn't tell anything about a... Okay, and the last one is the one that is the final. So as you can see, this will be included with, obviously, with the next assignment. So many of you have actually finished the bridge, and some has finished the entire tune. So we'll be going over it. We'll get this wrapped up, and then we'll just go on from there. So as you can see, I did choose some stuff that was submitted. You can see most of my melody here is stepwise. I stole a few things from others that I previously just covered. The only thing is I may change this to an A. I go back and forth whether I want to be there. I guess it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but anyway, that's it. We'll just continue on. So thanks everybody for submitting their stuff.